Just before the episode gets underway, I want to take the chance to ask you to support Reimagining Cyber by following or subscribing to the podcast. Also, if you can, why not leave us a rating and a review? It really helps other cybersecurity-minded folk find us. So follow, subscribe, rate and review. Now on with the show.
Hello, I'm Rob Arrigo, and welcome to Reimagining Cyber. In today's episode, we are looking at an issue that looms large over cybersecurity, the workforce gap. There are millions of jobs sitting unfilled in the industry, and the number continues to rise. Add in high turnover, installed career paths, and the talent crisis is hitting harder than ever. Thankfully, there are people out there who understand the issue and are doing something about it. One of them is today's guest, Lynn Dohm, Executive Director of Women in Cybersecurity, or WiCyS, an organization who rethinks how we recruit, retain, and advance the next generation of cyber talent. So Lynn, great to have you on. Could you do me a favor, just start for the audience, level setting? What's a good solid overview of WiCyS? What's it all about? What was the inspiration to drive the creation?
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. So Women in Cybersecurity, we often go by our acronym WiCYS, and we pronounce it WiCyS. We were started actually in 2014 as just solely a conference. And at that time, it was because ISC2 reported that there was only 11% of women that were represented in the workforce. So our founder, Dr. Ambereen Suraj, who was at Tennessee Tech University at the time, she was surprised it was even at 11%. She wasn't seeing it in any of her circles of industry, academia, or government. And so we are a true NSF success story where they take a little bit of money and they gave us seed funding of $70,000 to just launch a conference and see what would take us. Well, being a true success story, we had 350 attendees the first year, and then it continued to grow to 550, 800, 1,000 plus. And the conference took off really strong. It got a lot of great attention from our community, from corporations. They continued to fund and grow and start recruiting from the conference. But in 2018, we realized that the data wasn't really changing. And in order to truly make progress in the workforce, and WiCyS is a workforce initiative, to truly make progress in the workforce, we have to have year-round engagements of activities, programs, events, initiatives, and so much more in order to ensure that we're not only building the pipeline, but also retaining talented individuals and following them through career growth and advancement opportunities and having a support structure in place for that. And so in 2018, we became a member-based 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is the same as the conference: recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. But it's really important to note that we are not a women's only organization, that we are a community of women, men, allies, advocates that are all concerned about the critical workforce shortage. And therefore, our mission is a critical piece, a piece of the solution for the workforce challenges that we're currently faced. So what we do is we create accessibility and opportunities for individuals to not only get into cybersecurity, but advance in their careers. And we do that. We have over 11,000 members. We have representation in 107 countries. In addition to that, we have 72 professional affiliates that are satellite organizations. I'm executive director of the global organization, but the professional affiliates are all around the world. They're out Africa, Australia, Asia, Europe, Canada, throughout the United States. And then on top of that, we have 315 student chapters too. So each and every day, our reach is hundreds and thousands of individuals as we continue to go strong with all our 100 plus programming efforts. It's fabulous.
Excellent. That is a great story, just over 10 years of what you've been able to accomplish. And I love the fact that it kind of goes across, it seems like, all different kind of parts of someone's life cycle, right? The early education side of the equation and students that are interested in getting involved, that's great to hear, and kind of even thereafter. And I know we'll talk about some of those different success stories. I'm really excited to hear about that. You mentioned, obviously, one of the key elements is also around just really kind of dealing, understanding, addressing potentially workforce challenges in cybersecurity. So maybe you can kind of shine a light. What are some of those current workforce challenges around cybersecurity you're seeing?
Yeah, so we're a workforce initiative. So we're always looking at what is the workforce right now? What are we looking at? And how can us as a nonprofit listen to our community and what their needs are and bridge that gap to our over 60 employer partners? So we have our strategic partners that we're here to service as well. And so right now we're at this critical workforce shortage, and that gap continues to grow. There's over 4.8 million unfilled roles right now. In addition to that, we also know that cybersecurity has an 8% higher attrition rate than other IT roles. Then on top of that, we also have data that we produced in 2024 that shows that women in cybersecurity are at a glass ceiling at around 6 to 10 years within their career. So that's definitely a really important piece of research that we want to be very mindful of as we're building out all our important initiatives. And then we layer on top of that all the other workforce data where cybersecurity roles take 21% longer than other IT roles to fill. And that it estimates according to the calculations of SHRM, costing employers 2 to 3 times the amount of the salary to actually fill those roles. So we're always looking at what is the workforce data right now? What kind of research can we produce that is actually answering some of the questions that we have about the workforce? And then looking forward, thinking about, knowing fully well that the year 2030 is when the youngest of baby boomers are going to be reaching retirement age. And so reading about that mass exodus, they're dubbing it as the silver tsunami. But what does that mean for the cybersecurity workforce? And how are we ensuring that we're preparing mid-career individuals for those more senior positions? Because right now we have about 5 years to be thinking about what does that mean to us? Not saying that everyone that reaches retirement age will retire, but shortly thereafter, there is going to be this drop off, and we don't have the time or the place to lose the brain drain that might come with that immediate, release of our more senior individuals. And then the interesting part, Rob, that we're all anxiously waiting for, me being a Gen Xer myself, is what this workforce going to look like. It's very, very exciting going from a boomer to a Zoomer workforce, going from our boomers to our Gen Z. We all been working with Gen Z. We know and love them. They're excited. They're enthusiastic, they're go-getters, they really know what they want with their workforce, but they're incentivized very differently than Gen Xers and baby boomers and look differently from our millennials. So it's going to be a different workforce indeed. And are we ready for it?
That's a great point. And we're only, as you said, 5 years away. Not even. I mean, it's to be ready and maybe be able to make that pivot point, critically important. One of the things you called out as well, I wanted to delve into a little bit more is that, I don't know if it's a barrier, that's the right way to say it or not for women, but that career stagnation you talked about, I think you said around 6 to 10 years. Can you talk a little bit more about that and kind of, what are you seeing as the reasons for these barriers, but also more importantly, how do you knock those things down? How do you enable them to be successful?
Yeah, well, first is to wrap data around it and really have a better understanding. And so that's what we did. Around 2023, we were looking at what is our 5-year growth strategy as a nonprofit and where do we fit the mark with that growth strategy? Now, we know we're in cybersecurity, it's ever evolving. I mean, just layering on AI alone has its significant challenges. So we always are very nimble and flexible and working with the workforce as it is to make sure that we're preparing our community the best for their needs and capacity, matching it with the employer alignment. So that's really important. But in 2023, we're like, okay, we have the workforce data. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We know what we know. We know there's critical workforce shortage. We know that women are at around roughly 20 to 25% of the workforce. But what else do we need to know? And we needed to get our thumb on the pulse of the retention. No sense in building the pipeline if we can't retain talented individuals. And we have to have a better understanding of talent, the individuals where they're at within their careers in order to build out programs that help them have that career growth and advancement into more senior roles. And so that's when we partnered with Illyria Research and we did a state of inclusion benchmark report, and we were able to identify where there are some, some challenges there. And the biggest thing that came out of that Illyria report is that women in cybersecurity have like a glass ceiling, that career stagnation around 6 to 10 years within their career. And then when we went through all these different instances of like exclusionary activities as they were kind of building out the data sets to it all, number one was respect, and it's across all industries, all industry professionals, men, women, everyone. That was of no surprise to us at all. But the second highest area that is of concern with us is that only women in cybersecurity reported the lack of career growth and advancement opportunities as a barrier, as their second highest area. And why that is interesting to us and why we paid close attention to that is because Illyria, that has done this research across many different industries, hasn't seen the lack of career growth and advancement that high as a source of exclusionary activities in the workforce. And so that directly correlates to women in cybersecurity having that glass ceiling at around 6 to 10 years within their career. So now we have some data wrapped around it, and we have a really interesting story to tell there. There are some other really key factors that came out. Women in cybersecurity reported that they were 5 times more likely to have experiences of exclusion come from their direct managers. And there's some other key takeaways that really came out of that report. And so when I went out in 2025 and I really started, in 2024, and I really started reporting out on this data through RSA and Black Hat and many different conferences all around the place, the data was very well received. People are utilizing that data to make really important, informed decisions about their workforces and their workforce needs. But in addition to that, I was asked the question well, if women in cybersecurity are at a glass ceiling, could it be a performance issue? And that's what led us to our second study, which those findings led us now to our third study. So we have the storyline here of well, wait a second, we have this issue. We pinpointed a problem. We have to build out programming efforts for the mid-career individuals to get them to the more senior professionals.
Right.
But then when we were posed with the question of could it be a performance issue, I was like, oh no, you're not going to ask that question twice to me. We got to partner with a research firm, and we have to look at how are our members performing against their peers. And so we did. We partnered with N2K and SkillRex. We did a series of skills-based assessments on hard skills according to the NICE framework. And WiCyS members are outperforming their peers by a total of 4 points, which is equivalent to us having a 10% WiCyS advantage. So it's showing that not only are we outperforming our peers by all 7 of the NICE categories, but also by 16 of the 20 specialty areas. So not only are we performing well, but we're killing it. We're outperforming. So we're really happy with that data and the information that we obtained to it. And when the conversation recently started lending itself to the skills-based advancement or merit-based advancement, we're like, wait on, we're already all over it. This is data we already have. Let's talk about skills-based advancement, because skills-based advancement is the ultimate equalizer. That's exactly what we want. What are our skill sets in every individual skill sets bringing forward that will lend themselves to career growth and advancement? And if they have gaps, do the appropriate training and bring them up the career growth advancement there. And so, recently the conversation has really lent itself to skills-based advancement, merit-based advancement. And now we're looking at, how are we doing those assessments? Who are the decision makers on that? And what kind of research can we expand on to make sure that we're moving forward all in the right direction for a proper return on investment for the businesses on the business side of the house. So I know that was a very long-winded way of going through the research and the story why, but we're really excited on the progress that we've been making and those really key takeaways that we're pulling from it.
No, listen, you should be excited. It's great progress that's been seen. It's honestly a very short period of time that you've been able to accomplish this, if you think about it. So kudos to you and the organization. We will link the report, the Cyber Talent Study Research Report, into the show notes for people that want to take a look at that. Obviously, the website for additional resources as well. I want to change over the conversation. We'll continue the conversation really in the same kind of topic, but allow you to share with the audience just some great success stories that have come out of it. You shared some with us previously. Just love to have you share that out again so people can hear just, really what's possible out there.
Yeah. And so with WiCyS, when we're building out programming efforts, we're building them out for early career or mid-career or senior career. So, really all career levels there. But one of our most signature programs is the Security Training Scholarship. And we built it in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, where we're like, how else, if we're not going to have in-person events, how are we capturing individuals? How are we creating accessibility for more people to get into cybersecurity? We don't need them to leave. We need to get more. We're building this pipeline here. And what we really wanted to do is build out a program that finds that hidden talent, creates accessibility, creates opportunity that nobody would be able to obtain otherwise, like a life-changing instance, someone that really doesn't know what they want to do in their career and hasn't considered cybersecurity because it hasn't been put in front of them. And to reach out to those individuals that have the aptitude, the grit, the determination, that are looking for a career that will actually provide them financial stability. And we know cybersecurity can afford that as a career for individuals. And so we built out this incredibly tiered model, and we're able to grow that programming effort each and every year, but it was intended to find the hidden talent. And so a lot of our great success stories come from that program where individuals like stay-at-home moms that have never even heard of the word cybersecurity somehow came across it on their LinkedIn profile as a friend of a friend was sharing this programming effort. And they thought, well, I need to go back to work. I need to have an income and some financial stability. And so let me see if this cybersecurity is for me. And they would jump into the program, and lo and behold, they had all these transferable skills. We could teach them technology. And we did that through advanced certifications. But they really had harnessed all the power that they needed within them in order to move through this very challenging tiered program and be a top scholarship recipient and continue to go on their way within the workforce and have career advancement because of it. And one of my favorite stories also is this woman, Christine. She came to WiCyS. She was at the height of her physical therapy career. And she just kind of had this inkling within her, like she was bored. She wasn't really satisfied. She's like, well, this is it. Like I'm at the height of my career right now. Like I don't feel like I'm actually utilizing my brain power to the capabilities that it's intended to use. Like she had just this unsettled feeling, and she had friends and family that were in the like technology fields, but she never ever considered it for the life of her that she would actually join. And so when the security training scholarship came across one of her community boards, she thought, well, now is no time like the present. Like WiCyS has created a space for her to explore cybersecurity for her. And she was one of the very first recipients, and was able to leverage herself all the way up to the top, get the advanced SAN certifications, career placement services, started as an analyst, then became a cloud specialist. And each and every year we're hearing updates from her on her promotions. And what's
Awesome.
great about that, Rob, is I bumped into her 2 years ago at a WiCyS conference, and I saw Christine, and I gave her a big old hug, and she was waiting in line for a headshot. Then she introduced me to her sister that is in the security training scholarship 2 years ago. So 3 years
Awesome.
after Christine
That's
went
great.
through it,
Yeah.
her sister was a teacher and went through it herself and became a scholarship recipient. So we're changing the mindset of what it means to be a cybersecurity professional, all by like reducing any barriers and creating an inclusive space of like, we're all here to learn and grow in this collective space. And if you do make it to the top tier, we're going to make sure you have all the best certifications that you need and career placement services necessary to get you on your way. So truly life-changing in so
It
many.
is. It is. It's great. It's a great story, great stories, but that one especially. And, I think that's part of it. Like for me, I look at it, and you kind of call these things out, very similar kind of key attributes. If you have the right attitude, the energy, right, the effort, the passion kind of circulates around all of that. But then in cyber, if you have the curiosity to go along with that, it's a great fit. So great success stories for sure. Love to hear more as it relates to what's next for WiCyS. What's some kind of key initiatives that you can bring up and share with the audience?
Well, our next big event, in-person event, is our conference. That's March 11th through the 13th in Washington, D.C. So that's our next big event. But ongoing, I mean, just in the last fiscal year, we ran 123 programs and engaged over 50,000 individuals. So we're always rolling out new initiatives. And so what's in the pipeline right now is we're going to have our new GRC program coming out. So pay attention to that. We're going to have another rollout of our AI learning series that was fantastically received, and we're going to be doing that again. We're also seeking funding for our AI security accelerator. So we're always looking at that and when that program is going to be launching. And in addition to that, we'll continue having our book club and our certified in cybersecurity, our target cyber defense challenge, like all our other ongoing cyber range and all our other ongoing efforts. But we're excited to be kicking off into the AI space and then also launching our new GRC program too. So lots of
Very
good
exciting.
stuff.
That's good. Yeah. Plenty going on always, right? Especially in our space of cyber and now in the generation of AI, for sure.
Yes,
Yes.
for
Yes.
sure.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for coming on. Truly appreciate you getting the voice out further on WiCyS, what it's all about, the opportunities it presents for many, sharing success stories, which is always important to hear. Great resources, again, that we'll reference in our show notes. But, just a great conversation. The passion comes right across, no question, when we talk to you. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Rod. Thanks so much for having me. We appreciate it too.
Hello, producer Ben here, and Rob and Lynn's conversation about the cybersecurity workforce gap has echoes of a previous episode of the podcast back in 2022. It was called The Unconventional Way to Build a Cyber Talent Pipeline and featured Jim Routh and Damon Carter discussing the approaches that need to be taken to break the mold on how to recruit and develop cybersecurity professionals.
In a scarce market, you hire talent when you find it, not when you need it. And so what you do is you create an evergreen job requirement or posting that says, we're always open, we're always recruiting, whatever your interests are, come talk to us. You keep it as generic as possible. You don't make it specific and say these 14 certifications are fundamentally required for this job. You basically do the opposite. You say, let's see, can you fog a mirror? Okay, yeah, we'd like to talk to you. Literally, because you're just trying to evaluate the one thing you can't teach, which is intellectual curiosity.
That's from episode 42, The Unconventional Way to Build a Cyber Talent Pipeline. Why not go check it out and have a look through the other great episodes we have in the Reimagining Cyber catalogue. Thanks for listening and goodbye.